I mean, the pressure of coming in, playing the way he played, and as being, like you said, a true freshman that's coming out. I mean, shit, he got the keys to the building. That's a big building, and you come out there and you put them on your shoulders. Everything is critical. Every read is important. Every pass is important. Everything that he was doing, was important. But again, you had to know that he was going to have some struggles. Just kind of how he came back from that. What did he do the next game? What did he do the next time around? So now having a whole year of that experience, the game is going to slow down for him. His reads are going to be a lot faster. He's going to get off of things a lot quicker. He should be playing. He'll play a lot faster. And then with that confidence, the kid's got all the talent in the world, can make every throw, got all got the size and arm talent. So he's going to be fine there. It's just what's going to go up here between the ears and how fast he can pick up the game.
What's going on, everybody? Fall in, at attention. You are locked into another episode of the Husker Army Podcast, brought to you by the great folks right over here, Hurrdat Sports Network, and of course, Hurrdat One, and of course, everybody over at the Husker Army Facebook fan page. Make sure to go check those guys out. I think it's sitting at like 39,000 members, something like that. So if you get a chance, go become a member. Great group of people, awesome conversations, never any turmoil, unless we lose, and it's a little different. Okay, now I got to remind you, if you're watching on YouTube, please make sure to like and subscribe. Hit that bell notification icon. Helps us out a lot with the algorithm. And, of course, you'll find us on any audio-only platforms as well. Make sure to like us and leave a comment if you can. Now I got to let you know about the merch, everybody. You had your butts over there to shop.hurrdatsports.com. You get yourself some merch, all right? You got it right there. The shirts, the dad and trucker hats, the beanies, stainless steel tumblers, the coffee mugs, which I believe come in 15 and 20-ounce sizes. And, of course, black is not the only color this stuff comes in. So you get yourself some merch over at shop.hurrdatsports.com. Make sure to post a picture, tag us in it, send us a DM of a picture. You're going to get your own enlisted graphic made for you with that picture, wearing the merch or showing off the merch. Doesn't matter. So we get all that out the way. Now we can roll right into this. I am your host, Bryan. Knutzen. With me, as always, former Husker wide receiver and multi-time national champ Kenny Cheatham, a.k.a. KC. And, of course, our guest for tonight, everybody. And we're recording on a Friday night. This is so weird to me. But we got former Husker Ernie Beler joining us tonight. Ernie, how you doing, my man?
I'm doing great, Happy to be on with you guys.
Oh, it's exciting to have you on, dude. Like I said, Kenny, when he tells me certain people he's getting on here, I'm like, really? Really? All right, dude. This is gonna be a blast.
He got the real juice card. That's what it is.
He's got the in. That's why it's so important. Oh, Kenny, you lost sound again. Go figure.
No, I'm here. I'm here. I said I love having the OGs on, man. So because those are guys like we talked about before that when we came in, we were taught who the guys were. We knew who the guys were. We know who that is. Like Kenny Wilhite said, he would tell guys, do you know who that is? So our respect for the people that came in before us is always going to be there. And you've heard me say this for years, Bryan.
Yep.
It's not about they like to link it to the Coach Osborne era. It's for anyone who put that uniform on before me. I have 1,000% respect for it. So if they sit down with grown men and be like, hey, bro, boom, boom, boom. That's the big dog. I'm the youngest, especially they played before me because they paid away for us to be in that position. So, yeah, man, it's a pleasure to have them on. I love the young pups with the big dogs. Man, it's just different. It's different mindset, man. Different mindset.
Damn right it is. And Ernie, I got to show it to everybody, including yourself, the graphic. Every guest that joins us, man, they're automatically enlisted into the Husker Army.
Fine. Like that,
dude. Ernie, I texted.
Is that an Apex hat?
That's what
I had, don't you? Yo, B, listen. I was checking my old stuff, man. I might have it.
Apex.
Dude, if that's an old Apex hat, bro, like I said, I will buy that from you. I will Venmo you, whatever the hell you want for that. That is so vintage. And like I said in our text, dude, Some call it vintage. I call it my childhood/teen years. So
That's old
they can
school.
shut up.
Yeah.
I want hat, dude. I saw
Yo,
that.
that was a media day picture in Miami, right? And you can't really see it, but it was a hurricane coming in that weekend, during that time. So we had some bad storms. So if you really look at the hat, there's actually raindrops coming off the hat. That's why I'm laughing, because I don't know if it might be the Will Hyatt, somebody in front of me is making a joke, but behind me in that real picture, the storm was there, and I'm like the last one.
You can see it by the end.
Yeah, crazy. Yeah,
that's hilarious.
See, Ernie, I think that's the first time, other than maybe Dan Waldrop, that we've had a story with the picture being used for the enlisted graphic.
There it is.
I
told you
love that.
Stories. Yeah,
and perfect. That's kind of where I want to start with too, Ernie. I mean, you played here in the early '90s. I believe your senior year was '93, and dude, you got to play in the '93 season Orange Bowl, the FedEx Orange Bowl against Florida State. Everybody knows that watches that game that isn't a Florida State fan who won that game. We know y'all got screwed. We know you got robbed by two blatant blown calls.
Yeah.
One being the kick return for the touchdown with the phantom block in the back. And, of course, the fumble at the goal line by Florida State. You know damn well that ball didn't even touch the goal line.
Yep.
So, I mean, you got to live through probably one of the most excruciating games in Husker history as far as a loss goes. But you had a hell of a time here, Ernie. Coming out of a junior college, man, explain what it was like coming to Nebraska out of a junior college.
Yeah, well, I mean, let me take it to the beginning. So coming out of high school, I was Prop 48. So I went through that. And then the Prop 48, I think it might have been a couple other players that was on the team that actually fell short of that. But the ruling was if you sat out the year, basically if you can go to school, but you lose your year eligibility.
Yep.
So I sat out the first year and actually worked and, took some classes and stuff like that. But then the next year rolled around. I didn't want to sit out, that year because I really wasn't enrolled as a full-time student. So Coach Osborne came to me and was like, hey, here's an option for you. You can go to a junior college, right? You can come back here as a redshirt sophomore, but you can go there, play 1 year, redshirt there the second season, and then come back. And that was the plan. I mean, he set the plan up for me, and I went to Ellsworth, Community College in Iowa Falls, Iowa, and I left Lincoln. But before that, I was able to, when I got there in '88, I was able to be around, that freshman team, which was the, Tyrone Bird, the Travis Hills, the David Whites, T. Leggett, that was our class, the class I came in with. So my whole time leaving and going to the junior college was just make it back to Nebraska. I got to play with my boys. I got to play with the dudes that I came in with. And so went to the junior college and did what I had to do there. We wound up playing for a national championship, at that junior college against Navarro, Texas, which is really good. But that junior college team, Coach Osborne told me one thing before he left. He says, let me tell you something. You might bump into some players at this junior college that's probably better than you see at Nebraska right now.
Ooh.
I said, what? Here I'm just like, I'm like, I don't believe it, but he was like, I'm telling you. And he was right. One of the dudes that I played in the defensive backfield with was Dale Carter, first round pick for the Chiefs. DC was my boy, And I remember watching him, and he reminded me of when I saw him for the first time. I seen somebody at that level. I watched Bruce Pickens. When I was in Lincoln before I left, and Bruce was a junior college transfer at that time too, and he was actually practicing with us. And Bruce taught me how to backpedal. I watched him backpedal. I was like, damn, how do you do that? Like the speed of his backpedal, the fluidness of his backpedal. I can never seen that before. So Bruce taught me how to backpedal. And then, once I got used to doing that, when I got to this junior college, I seen Dale Carter, it was crazy. I was like, wow. First time I seen guys that can move like that was like Bruce, and other guys that was playing in, that was on the starting defense. But it was incredible, to watch that athlete like that, man. And I tell you, I called Nebraska right away. I was like, Coach Solich, Coach D, there's a dude up here. I need to get somebody up here quick. I'm telling you right now. And man, Dale Carter was that boy, but we wound up playing, and both of us became all region, all Americans up there. It was his second year doing it, and then the next year up there, I was actually, that's when I sat out that year, so I can save my year eligibility, and coached on the team, and came back to Lincoln, as a redshirt sophomore.
And that's dope. That's dope.
Yeah.
You say Dale Carter, man. Dale Carter is such a legend at the University of Tennessee that it's crazy.
Tennessee, bro. That's right.
So for him to say that and say he saw that and was like, hey, I mean, you talk about Dale Carter at Tennessee, and they like,
yeah,
it was a legend, bro.
Legend.
It's a bad man, dude.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
DC was the boy. Still is.
That is something that I figured I might as well ask you right off the bat, Ernie. I asked Vernon this, I believe, and I asked Kenny this. If you could literally, and I know it's so hard, to pick out one moment of your career to relive over and over again.
Hell yeah, I can pick it out right now.
Oh, perfect. Give it to us, Ernie.
Right for the national championship. 4th and 1.
Oh.
One play. I live it over and over again. I'm looking down the line. I'm like, yo, one play. Stay in the moment. Stay in the moment. Stay present. Stay in the moment. Stay in the moment. I'm yelling it. One play. Straight dive. William Floyd in the A-hole, and we gave it up. We gave it up. And it was just one play. Yeah. I relived that one a lot. I relived that one a lot. That one still hurt. I mean, it's just like, what I meant by staying in the moment. And that's how, I knew we were close, because we were in all of these games. And when we start playing well, we started playing, with that intensity of, okay, next down. The next down mentality. It's just nothing else matters but this down, and that's it. And then we went into the next down. Like, we never got ahead of ourselves. But when that moment came up, we fell short. We wasn't in the moment. And I can't say all of us, some of us was there, but I'm just letting you know, I was present because I was yelling it before the play even went, got on. I was telling everybody, they coming straight at us. You know what we're doing. Let's get this. And that moment right there. And I tell you, I can never forget that. Never. To this day.
And I bet when you see it, the replay is in slow motion.
Oh my God, bruh. Slow motion. It's just like, I'm in here engaging the block. I'm looking. I'm just like, look, let's just get a little bit more penetration. Let's push. And we pushed and did get him in the backfield. He was a big boy. He was going to fall forward anyway. Right. Somebody got him on his legs, and somebody, got him, up top. We was going to take him down. We was going to get him. But it was just, they got off the ball. They got a little lower than us, and shit, man, there it was, Instead of third, 4th and 1, whatever it was, he got 2 or 3, and that was it.
Damn, Ernie, I was kind of hoping it would be a happy memory.
Shit.
you
got
know,
some happy ones, but that one would have made me real happy. I'm gonna tell you that, because that would have been, that's game. That's game right there. That's game.
The mistakes or I could have done this better are the ones that stick with you, though.
Yeah.
Those moments are like that. I can remember. I know every game I played in during my time in Nebraska, but you know what I remember? The moments I could have done better in.
Yeah.
Or we could have done this. That's fresh. All the other stuff, once it's brought back, you're like, oh yeah. But those moments are like, oh, if I would have, if I could have, you know what I mean? It's almost like, and those are the ones, like Ernie said, you think about all the time. I think about all the time when they said my toe was on the line against Texas, catching the ball. I think about when I went to catch the ball versus U of A, and I banged my shoulder on the ground and was separated and dropped the ball. I think about that stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But the other stuff is just, okay. But that stuff is the ones that it haunts you, but it's not like you just have nightmares, but it replays. It just replays.
No, it replays. It's definitely a replay. I'll tell you one thing. It's not, and I could have picked some moments that collectively, well, individually that I did, but it wasn't about me. It was about us.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And that was us. That was our chance right there, to make history. That's what I'm talking about staying in the moment. And I just think we fell short, to be honest, at that time. We had to regroup the next play, and we did. But it was that play that could have won us the national championship.
Mm-hmm. No, I get you. I mean, look, I haven't played football since high school. So, I mean, I can't speak to it on the level that you guys can. Mm-hmm. So, with a different analogy, as a poker player, I can tell you right now, you'll remember your beats way before you remember your wins.
No doubt. Okay.
I'm just saying. I've had four of a kind cracked by four of a kind, and I can give you the whole story start to finish, but it sucks. I hate reliving it. A lot of money lost on that hand. Not gonna lie. Damn. Oh, there's sometimes I don't miss living in Vegas. That's no joke. That's probably a good idea. We don't anymore. Ooh. All right. So, I mean, might as well talk about this as well. I mean, spring practice has just kicked off. It's going to be totally different for the fans this year. They're going to have this thing called the Husker Games. Let's see. I believe I've got a graphic for that. There we go. Okay. And this I find kind of funny because it's all going to be split up into two teams. You got the Stars, you got the Legends. Will Compton coaching the Stars, and Jay Foreman coaching the Legends.
Wow.
So they're the team captains. I'm digging that. It's April 26th at 2:00 at Memorial Stadium. I mean, if you're watching this on YouTube, you'll see the info scrolling by at the bottom there. So good for you. If you're watching on YouTube, you get to see all that. So I'll leave it running for you there. But Ernie, I mean, spring practice kicking off. It's always a huge deal in Nebraska. We've had our time to kind of collect our thoughts, regroup a little, come off a great ending of the season finally with a bowl appearance and a bowl win. Mm-hmm. So this spring, it's looking like not much is going to change as far as things are done. Even with the new look at the defensive coaching positions, new defensive coordinator, doesn't look like a whole lot's going to change look-wise, but it does look like these guys on defense especially are just reloading. Now, going back to what we saw at the end of last season, would you expect this defense to really start to just come alive this season and really shut people down?
Yeah, I mean, personnel-wise, I've seen some things last year where I seemed like they were really coming together on, and I don't know if it was more about the scheme that they were in and how they was playing, but they were playing a lot faster. They was reacting a lot quicker, and at times they looked really, really good, but, losing, defensive coach, sometimes that terminology changes a little bit. Yeah. Sometimes a new coach comes in and the athletes might be the same, but, the terminology might be a little different. Mm-hmm. So hopefully, new coaches that came in was looking at, okay, what did they do well? And let's capitalize on that. And let's kind of stay with some of the systems so you don't change up a lot of things, and let these kids play a little free, and so they don't have to, that's the thing about reacting so much to anything that's out there on the field. Because that's what really slows the defense down. Is when they got, 30 different checks for, slot motion. Let's line up and everybody's got gap control. You know what coverage you're in. You know where you're covering. If it's a 3x1 set or double set, you know where it's at. You know where the hots are. I mean, just so they can play a lot faster. And I think if they can get to that, I think the defense is just going to obviously going to get a lot better.
And with the way the game has changed, obviously since, your playing days, Kenny's playing days, even guys from less than 10 years ago, the game has changed a ton.
Oh, yeah.
And as far as spring practice goes, it's usually the same layout, kind of the same routines. If they were to be doing the same things that you guys did during spring practice, I mean, what do you think we're looking at this coming season if they're preparing as hard as you guys did?
Well, if they prepared like we did, that's spring game, but we was bringing it. You know, I'm telling you, we had some hard practices. You know, we were going at each other when we played. And I remember one spring, Coach Osborne had to call me in. We were getting what were we doing? It was after practice. It was Darlington is telling me something about some coverage I need to be in. I'm playing safety right now, and he's yelling at me on the sideline that I'm not at 12-2, and I'm at maybe 10 yards off the ball, and they run a little dart pass or a little Y seam, and I think it was Darryl that got caught. He just I just came up on him and let him have it, And then the next time, he stumbled off the field. It was pretty embarrassing. Darryl, if you hear this, my bad, bro. It wasn't that bad. I didn't mean to do it, but you had to get that one that day. And then the next time around, they ran the same play the other way, and it was Chris Garrett, and I know he's gone, and God rest his soul. But he caught a shot too on the sideline, and I just remember Coach Osborne talking to me when we was having lunch, and he just like, son, we're not doing that out here. We're not hitting our players like that. We're not going to do that. We know you can play. We know you can. You got a little fire in you. He said, but listen, what I saw today was violent. I don't want to see it. Not against our players. So that's the kind of mentality that we had. The way we practice. We were hitting. Because at the end of the day, we had to get our boys ready too. It was some boys out there that can play. So, if we couldn't, we couldn't sharpen that iron, what difference does it make? So we were bringing it. We were physical, real physical. But if this team practices like that, and you got to practice with that kind of intensity, you got to practice that kind of speed. If you're just out there just kind of going through the motions and this is, they're going to one off everybody and just kind of wrap up. And, you're going to just have one of them spring games. I remember in our spring game, me and Corey Schlesinger, right in the hole. But practice before that, he got me. He got me. I kind of came up late, and Corey, you got to bring it. You got to bring all of it with you. You got to drop your ass down, get your nudge. Get it all, because Corey was coming. And so he got me. He got me in the spring practice, but I knew they were going to run the play. So where we are in the hole again, me and him had to let him have it. And but. We had that we practiced that way, but it was a mutual respect, but we really practiced hard.
Hey, look who's back.
Yeah, man, this computer is stupid. It did it again, but I'm back.
Did it to you again, huh?
Yeah, it's tripping, man. It did your browser can't access your device, restarting. Anyway. So
Cox Cable at its finest, folks.
Hey man, in the flesh, baby.
Well,
so Evie,
Kenny.
I just, from going back to how you ended up at Nebraska. So when you found out, who was all recruiting you coming out of high school?
Ooh, good question.
Well, I had a lot of schools back east. Was really probably heading towards Penn State. And Penn State liked a lot of our linebackers, especially from my county. We had probably maybe I would say maybe 10, 15 guys who went to Penn State from my area. Then some of the South schools, Clemson, Iowa.
Boo.
And it was so crazy. Once I chose Nebraska, my cousin chose Iowa. He wanted to go. We was trying to go somewhere together. My cousin. Danny Hughes, he wound up going to Iowa, but it was we were just talking about it just not too long ago. We had I think it was Hayden Fry, Tom Osborne, and I can't remember who the other coach was at one of our basketball games.
Wow.
And we out there just hooping and just kind of look up and was like, yo, check that out, man. Just think about what we're looking at right now. You're looking at two legends, in our gym while we out here hooping, and they recruiting us for football. So it was a surreal moment, man. To kind of relive that, and actually talk about it. But other than that, it was really, I would say Penn State more than anything. That just probably would have been the place I went.
Yeah, and the reason I was asking that is because I know how schools can be when end up with a proposition, let's say, or a position like being a Prop 48. Now, did they back off and Nebraska stayed faithful to you? And that's what made you say, you know what, Coach, I'm going to commit to Nebraska.
Yeah, I think it was both, but it was just, you know, when I took my visit to Nebraska, it was different. It was just, you know, I remember kind of starting the story off a little bit like this. You know, Coach Solich, you know, obviously, you knew his way up and down the Turnpike in New Jersey and the Parkway. Those are the two main freeways in New Jersey, and he knew how to get to some places. So he was actually recruiting this kid that I played my state championship game with out of Patterson Kennedy. And it was these two brothers, you know, the McDonald brothers. These dudes were so good, they couldn't put them on the same team. They had to split them up in high school. One had to go to one high school, one had to go to the other high school. Ooh. And one went to Pitt, and the one we played against went to Notre Dame. McDonald brothers, Javon McDonald and Ricardo McDonald were their names. So anyway, I guess Solis was recruiting him, you know, because he was up in Patterson. And, you know, turned the film on and, you know, I guess he must have watched the first couple plays and was like, yo, who's this team right here? Who's that kid right there, number 23? They was like, I don't know. It's Beler. I think his name, something like that. He lives in, you know, the school is Bayonne, you know, and he was like, oh, okay, I know where that's at. And he just came. He no scheduled visit or nothing. You know, I remember my coach walking by my classroom was like, come here. And he was like, Nebraska's downstairs. I was like, what? Yeah, so. Went downstairs, Solis was in there, shook his hand, turned the film on. We watched 3 plays. 3. And all 3 plays, I'm hitting this dude in the backfield. He's 6'6", 230, and I'm my size, maybe 5'11", 185, 190, and giving it to him. 3 times in a row. First 3 plays, they wanted to run straight at me. I'm playing middle linebacker. Gave it to him. Solis was like, we want you to come out to Nebraska. You want to come and visit? I was like, absolutely. He said, how about this Saturday? There it was. My tickets was in the mail on Wednesday. Almost didn't make it. Flew out in a snowstorm. Crazy, though. Oh, crazy, bro. I mean, I had to get rerouted. I was going to Chicago. Had to get rerouted to Minneapolis. You know, I'm just like, man, here I am. You know, I got my leather bomber on. I'm hooded it up. I'm ready to go. Tim's on. I'm ready. I'm strictly East Coast. They was like, when I got to Nebraska, they was like, damn, you remind me of Mike Rozier. Because, you know, we got the leathers on and the whole 9. We out there, man. They was like, what? How did this shit happen? You know, this is another Mike Rozier. You know, it's crazy. But I was flying to Minneapolis, man, and in the snowstorm. And I get on this little prop plane, this little 18-passenger joint with the propellers on the outside in the snowstorm.
Hey, I'm going to say something about that. When we used to go to Nebraska from back in the days when they would fly me into Lincoln.
Yeah.
They flew me to Minneapolis. And they put me on one of them little planes, and it was a blizzard. And that was the very first time I had ever heard about ice in the plane.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
And I see them spraying this purple stuff. But first of all, we had to walk down some stairs and walk to the damn little plane.
Outside.
And then
Bryan, that shit was crazy. I'm telling Kenny ain't lying. I'm telling you, I got on that plane. I was like, what?
Then I see this stuff looking like fake snow, but the snow just flying on the ground because the wind's blowing. And then we have to de-ice the plane. They're playing this purple stuff on it. And that's when they had the old school phones.
Yeah.
Shit. We take off, I get on the phone and I call my mom. And you know, I had a credit card. And I'm like, Ma, she's like, what's up, son? I'm like, La Bamba. They got me on the La Bamba plane. She's like, bro. I said, they got me on the La Bamba plane. She's like,
hell no.
I said, Mama, I'm scared. They got me on the Bamba plane. So I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yo, I'm looking outside. I'm just like, yo, this plane ain't got no stewardess in here. I ain't got no peanuts and shit. I mean, what's going on? I'm looking around. I'm like, why is the aisle so close to me? Why can't I reach this other window? I'm looking at that shit. That plane was took off. I was like, oh, man. You talking about phones. Bro, cell phones wasn't even invented yet.
Yeah. That was flying, man. The center console, pull that out with the credit card.
Nah, we didn't have that, boy. We didn't have that. Nah.
That wasn't even that in. Lord have mercy.
We still had ashtrays on on the seats, bro. No, there wasn't none of that. People might have been smoking on my flight, for real. I'm telling you. So we flying in, man. And I'm just like, I don't see nothing, Brian. I don't see nothing. All of a sudden, I see some lights, and I was like, oh, what is that? I peep out the window. The stadium was lit up, and I seen that big ass end on the side of the building. I was like, holy shit. You know, I mean, I'm coming out of this snowstorm and it's flying and I don't see nothing. It's dark. And all of a sudden we see that. And I looked down and I was like, this is it.
Hell yeah. It's like a light from God.
Yeah, man. I'm telling you, that boy landed in Lincoln, you know, outside. Solich and his wife was there. And I'll never forget it. They were like, you hungry? I was like, hell. I don't want to say hell yeah, but I was like, yeah, I'm hungry. I'm hungry.
I could
They're
eat.
like, where you want to go? I was like, wherever we can go. They were like, you want to go to Perkins? I was like, what's Perkins? Sound good though. Let's go. But the Perkins, bro, has some good shit. I'll never forget. He said, "Give me the one off O Street." Huh?
The one off O Street.
No, this was the one. They had one out there. What highway is the airport on? Is that?
Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
it was that old one. Yeah.
Yeah.
We stopped there, boy. I got some steak and eggs, some pancakes. I was in it.
Ooh.
In it, bro. He was like, you warm enough? I was like, yeah, I'm warm because I had a triple fat goose on. Leather boy. That boy was he thought I might have been about 280. That's how big that jacket was. Yeah, man.
Hey, so Bryan, hey, check this out, EB. So these dudes always laugh at me when I tell the story when I was recruited being an Arizona boy. This is a Jersey kid who had on thick sweaters. So imagine me. Yeah. So imagine me going to there when it happened to be the coldest day. First of all, it was like 40 degrees in Minnesota with the wind blowing. So that was an experience walking to the plane. Then get to Nebraska and it happened to be the coldest. It was after, so imagine it was after the Orange Bowl, EB. So it was around that time. So I go to Nebraska. I have on the Dallas Cowboy bomber, and they gave me one of those Apex jackets. And I always tell the story, and I had them tied so tight that you can only see my eyes.
Wow.
So I was in there just shaking the whole time. They was like, yeah, what you want to do in school? And I was like, criminal justice. And they go show me the people. And I'm just shaking because it was so cold. My teeth are just rattling. So when I finally get there, Coach B like, the handsome kid, we didn't even know what you look like because we couldn't see your face the whole time you was on a cruise trip.
That's crazy.
I'm like, hey, Coach D, this one real. They was like, we didn't think we was gonna ever come back. I was like, well, you know, they was like, we didn't know what you look. They laugh about it to this day. Dennis LeBlanc laughs about it. If he's around other kids, he's like, let me tell you Kenny's recruiting story. He came in here and all he heard was his teeth and him shaking the whole time with about 3 jackets on, sitting in the chair. We didn't think we were gonna get him. We didn't know what he looked like. Yeah,
I'm from Jersey. I was ready. I was prepared. I had them 40 below Timberlands on. The boys was down there halfway up my calves. Yeah, bro. I was strapped in. I was ready. They were like, "Oh,
yeah, you know how to treat that cold weather. You're from Jersey,
he built for this. Yeah, man. Yeah.
Go back and deal with it now. Being that you
ain't nothing happening, Captain. I ain't doing that. My blood is thin now.
Yeah, Arizona's home now.
It don't work.
Arizona's home now, Ernie. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
West Coast all the way for Ernie.
Yep. But yeah, man, that was a real experience, man. And then I would say, you know, I told the story before, but just being there, you know, went to the Cornhusker Hotel and stuff like that, and got checked in. And just the next day, man, you know how professional everything was going. You know, just you know, everybody had, you know, timelines and, you know, itineraries were there. We had to follow the, you know, the script and stuff like that. We got down to the stadium. We ate at the hotel. Got down to the stadium. And I was impressed by the little things. Like I was impressed by how many people knew my name.
Right.
That shit meant a lot to me. Like, and people would like, Ernie, like, how was your flight? I heard you got, you know, like, I heard you, you know, you got stuck in Minneapolis and you came in on a small plane and, you know, and Solich and his wife picked you up. You know, I came in like almost like 12 o'clock at night. And it was like, yes, did you get some sleep? And I was just like, damn, how does everybody know about that? You know, and it was like, and I thought that was that was impressive to me, you know, and, you know, I'm just walking around and everybody was just, you know, asking about that, you know, and it was just, you know, happy that I was there, you know, concerned. Maybe they thought my fucking plane was going to crash or something like that, you know, something crazy, but, you know, but shit, man, I was real thrilled about, you know, that experience and then going through it and kind of seeing everything and seeing the facilities, going down to the equipment room, the old South Stadium, you know, the old South Stadium, going into the locker room, going there for, messed around with Glenn, and the crew that was in there. The crazy thing about that is like when I actually went back, like Glenn remembered all of that shit, man, because he just was like, because he was like, he looked at me and said, yeah, I'll be able to, some guys like to get their jerseys, tucked in. I'll sew them for you. I'll do this. I'll do that for you. And sure enough, when I got back, I was like, Glenn, remember that shit you told me on my recruiting visit? I need to get these sleeves up. I need to get my pants right. And he hooked me up, man. It's just little things like that you don't really pay attention to that just made you just feel like fam, man. It was just same thing with Sully, same thing with Jerry, same thing with Dope. I remember them dudes from my recruiting visit, just because they were that way.
You weren't just a number. You weren't just a number coming in. I mean, meaning a group of 20 kids coming in. You were who you were, and yeah, exactly. So
yeah, man. So we did that, and like the last thing, and I'll speed up. The last thing we kind of really talked about was, I remember my coach was like, high school coach was like, all right, don't sign nothing, don't commit to anything yet. And when the Coach Osborne's office, I saw that big ass oak table. I was like, oh, I'm about to ink up. If he would have pulled the scholar yacht out of it, like, give me that. I'm inking up right now. Straight up and down. I'm inking up right now. He was just like, hey, Coach Osborne, he was like, hey, how's your visit? I'm like, it was great, sir. I'm enjoying myself. He was like, he would nod his head a little bit. Well, we want to offer you a scholarship here, and we want you to play here. We want you to be a part of this. I'm just like, man, I'm just thinking. I'm checking to see if I got a pen in my pocket or something like that. And I'm just like, if he pulls something out, I'm signing right now. I don't give a damn what nobody say. I'm inking right now. Press hard 3 copies. I would have inked up right there. Okay, Kenny, I'm telling you. So he just was like, all right, we'll get back to you and let us know what you decide. But again, you got a place here. We want you. Stuff like that. I'm gonna come out and visit you. A little later on, when I make my runs and stuff like that. But then after that, I just said, all right, and I just never forget. I kind of walked, and what my host was at that time? I had Steve Taylor and Vaughn Shepard.
Oh God.
And they trying to drop me off early. Brown from Jersey. You know what I'm saying? I'm just like, it's like 10, 11 o'clock. I'm not getting no pizza. I mean, I like Valentino's, but I'm like, bro, I get real slices. I got East Coast pizza. You gonna give me some Valentino's and then put me back in the hotel? I'm like, bro, don't you know right now I'm in New York hanging out till about 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning? I'm like, where we going? Well, let's do something. They was like, do something. I'm like, I was like, yo, where's everybody at? I'm like, he said, Omaha. I'm like, well, let's go to Omaha. They was like, you can't go to Omaha. I'm like, why not? So it's like 40 miles away. I'm like, so what?
That's nothing.
I drive from Jersey to Baltimore, and go to Morgan State for a weekend. Driving wasn't nothing for me.
Right.
So that was like, I'll never, and Steve, when I spoke to Steve about that, he was just like, you remember that shit? I'm like, hell yeah, I remember that. I remember your car too, Steve. He had a little Honda CX CRV or CRX, a little small 2-door little Honda with tailor-made on his license plate. I was like, look at this dude.
Oh, yeah, tailor-made. Look at him. Look at him with the vanity plate.
Yeah, Steve was doing it back then like that. But yeah,
oh
man.
My God.
Yeah, it was real chill, man. But I would tell you, man, just that experience alone, and then right there after that, I went over to the little Husker store. I had to get some gear, and then my teacher was like, "Yo, bring me back a black shirt." I'm like,
that's dope.
You know what I'm saying? I'm like, yo, like real talk. I'm like, yo, to myself, I'm like, what the fuck is a black shirt? He's like, bring me back a black shirt. And I'm like, all right, man. So I go over there, and first he gave me like $50. I'm I'm trying to find something for 15 or 10. I'm trying to find some cheap shit. I'm keeping all of that. He ain't getting no receipt. So I go in there, right? And I'm looking around and I was like, oh, I'm gonna get a couple shirts and hoodies and hats and stuff like that. And then I asked the lady that was in there, she used to run the place. I said, ma'am, what's the black shirt? She turned around and looked at me and she said, son, that's us. That's how we win around. That's how we win championships around here.
That's crazy.
That's our defense. I was like, what? I was like, the defense is called the black shirts? She was like, yes. The defense is called the black shirt. She gave me the history of the black shirts. She was telling me that it's selective few that was getting these shirts. She was telling me that they wear black shirts, at practice. I was like, what? That's the thing? She was like, yeah. And so she gave me the whole history of it, and I'm just like, oh, shit, I got to get me a black shirt now, So she gave me a little deal. I guess she gave me I was like 2 for 5. I mean 2 for 25 or something like that. But I'll never forget that, you know. And when I went back to Nebraska and stuff like that, I did go back, you know, and visit that lady that owned that place. And I don't, you know, obviously it's not there no more. But you know,
Was that the one across from the stadium?
Yeah, that's where the parking garage is at now, right? Yeah, right.
The big red shot. Yeah.
So
we were mad when they got rid of that.
Stadium. Yep. You walk out South Stadium, that shit used to be right there.
Yeah, we got mad. We got mad when they got rid of that. They built that the alumni thing and the parking. Yeah.
Yep. But yeah, man. So that was my story. I came back, you know, gave my teacher's shirt and stuff like that, and he was asking about the visit, and you know, everybody was like, "What are you gonna do?" and this and that. And I'm just like, I was telling my family, I was like, "Shit, I'm going to Nebraska. I'm going to Nebraska. You know, I don't want to take no visits nowhere else. It's where I want to go. It's where I want to play." And it all just, you know, it was just maybe how I got there, you know, in that damn snowstorm. You know, they hit ground and shit, and I was happy that I hit ground, but I'm like, maybe this is home. And it was.
Richie Valens, baby. Richie Valens.
That was the spot.
Hey, Kenny, that's one of my favorite all-time movies, man. La Bamba, I ain't lying. That's
he went Richie Valens on. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Richie Valens, Big Bopper. Oh yeah, dude. Oh yeah. I love those guys, man. That's the music I grew up with. I mean, my parents, that's what they listened to. I mean, I listened to Chuck Berry, the LaBelles, Patty and the LaBelles. I mean, it's crazy the classic music I listened to. You look at all the tattoos on me and everything, you'd be like, all right, this guy listens to nothing but like death metal or Metallica or something like that. No, not true. I listen to some very, very good old school music, and I love it still to this day.
Yeah,
so,
the best.
And then biggest thing I took away from that story right there, Ernie, about you getting a black shirt for that guy is the fact that you got 2 shirts for $5. Dude.
Yeah, I damn near told him I need to go back in that time machine, get those damn shirts.
Yeah. Well, I didn't tell you what happened after them shits when you wash them. I mean, for the 2 for 5s. But I tell you, it was dope though. It was nice.
Yeah, and then going back to what you said about
they become the smoky gray shirts after you wash them.
No doubt. Yeah.
No longer black shirts.
And then you couldn't put them boys in water. I'm gonna tell you that much. You know, she hit me off with them old models, but I tell you like that. So when some laundry detergent hit that shit, it was over. This shit turned into a bed, bro.
Oh God. Oh man, it's just getting late for me. Fuck, I don't know. Oh shit. Laughing so damn hard.
Oh man. But that's what I was talking about. Yeah, Brian.
Yeah, and going back to what you said about everybody knowing who you were on that visit, I mean, that trickles right down to the fans as well. We want to know the young men, the young athletes that are going to not just represent the program, but represent the state. Yeah. So we want to get to know you as soon as we possibly can. And if we can know your name, your stats, your height, your weight before you even get here.
Yeah.
To us, that is trying to show you how much we appreciate what you're going to do for the program and the state.
Yeah. No, that's true. That's true. That you're right about that, because the day when I committed, you know, I mean, I was in my coach's office and I don't know how many radio interviews I did. I mean, I was in there for almost the rest of the day, and it was just, you know, people that was just interview after interview coming on, and just, you know, and I was just like, wow, this is, you know, this state is, you know, again, now not really knowing that, you know, that Nebraska don't have a pro team, you know, this was like the pro team for Nebraska, you know, so this is how it was treated, you know, so that kind of coverage that you were getting, you know, especially coming out of high school, I was like, I wasn't used to that, but I was just like, wow, this is really where it's at, you know, and you know, these people really care about, you know, this program. And it wasn't just, you know, the coaches, it was everybody else. It was the radio people. It was the news people. I mean, everybody cared about who was coming in to Lincoln to play, you know, so, you know, that was impressive, you know, dealing with that.
Yeah, it's great to know the guys that are coming in. It's great to know to know everybody that's on that team, not just your scholarship players, which unfortunately now with the new rule, 105 rule, that's all you're going to have. The walk-ons are done and over with. But as a fan, it was great to know all those third, fourth, even fifth string players.
Oh, yeah.
To know that they're there every single day in practice, contributing to the team in whatever way they're needed or can do. To know that they're doing that for the team itself and the program, that's what endears guys like that to us. And that's why we love not just you, Ernie, not just you, Kenny, but anybody that has an N on their head with that helmet on. It's just, we can't thank you guys enough. And I just hope you understand how us as fans look at you guys as not just players, not just athletes, but as stars and pillars of, as I've said, not just the program, but the state, and the way you guys carry yourselves and portray everything that you've experienced here. The only thing to say is thank you.
You're welcome. I'll tell you like that. It goes both ways. You know, my wife's from Nebraska. She's from Omaha. You know, so I got ties there now. You know, and I just felt like it was home. It just felt right. You know, you get that gut feeling, man. And my mom would always tell me, you follow your gut. You know, you got that gut feeling. It's just, you know, I didn't want to be nowhere else. And once I got there, I just, you know, it was going to be my home. This is where I wanted to live. This is where I wanted to play. This is where I wanted to go to school. You know, because I felt like once I left Jersey, I said, I ain't going back. You know, Rap City. I remember looking at Giant Stadium. I said, hopefully one day I'll make it back there. But shit, right now, I ain't coming back to Jersey.
And I like the way you said that, Ernie. You said it felt like home, and it kind of leads right into what I was about to bring up. And it's obviously talking about a couple guys that's currently on the roster having a good start to the spring practice, and that's Dylan Raiola and Kenny, our guy Emmett Johnson, who's looking to be RB #1 this coming season. And I all intents and purposes should be, barring anything catastrophic happening in the offseason. But it's like Emmett Johnson said, this place to him felt like home when he visited here. And that's why it was so tough for him to even consider, you know, entering the transfer portal after last season with the coach, or right before the end of the season with all the coaching changes and stuff. And ultimately deciding to stay here because he said, it's just, this is home. He even made a song about it, calling Nebraska home. So, I mean, I think I have that on my phone, Ernie. I'll send it to you when we're done.
Okay.
I'm sure I can send that over to you. It's awesome. But yeah, they're having great springs already. Emmett Johnson, like I said, calls this place home just like you do. And he's from Minneapolis. So, I mean, you telling that story.
Hope he ain't taking them little ass planes.
I'll get
it. Tell his parents to drive him. Hope he don't get on them little flights.
I'm going to have to tell him to watch this episode. And if he has to, just speed up to that story there and be like, dude, is this how planes are in Minnesota? Seriously?
That was crazy.
I don't want to go there now. Especially all the stuff you hear about planes right now. No, I ain't flying nowhere.
Yeah.
No bueno.
But yeah, Emmett's looking to be RB1 this coming season, and ultimately he should be for all intents and purposes. Obviously, Raiola will be quarterback #1. Going from this last season, I mean, Raiola starting as a true freshman, I believe only the second one we've had start as a true freshman from the jump. I believe the other one was only Taylor Martinez. And to see him progress as the season went along. Yes, you know, he made those freshman mistakes. There were certain times he didn't go through certain reads. It looked like he was a little uncomfortable in the pocket maybe. But I attribute to that to, you know, first-year jitters. It's the game is sped up for him. This isn't high school anymore.
Yeah.
But looking at him right now as spring practice has kicked off, it looks like the body's slimmed down a little. He says he feels like he's in the best shape of his life. Do you look for Raiola to make a significant jump in his sophomore year this year?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, you know, the pressure of coming in and playing the way he played, and as being, like you said, you know, a true freshman that's coming out. I mean, shit, he got the keys to the building. That's a big building, you know, and you come out there and you put them on your shoulders, you know, everything is critical. You know, every read is important. Every pass is important. Everything that he was doing, you know, was important. You know, but again, you had to know that he was going to have some struggles. You know, just kind of how he came back from that. You know, what did he do the next game? What did he do the next time around? So now having a whole year of that experience, you know, the game is going to slow down for him. You know, his reads are going to be a lot faster. You know, he's going to get off of things a lot quicker. You know, he should be playing. He'll play a lot faster. You know, and then with that confidence, you know, the kid's got, you know, all the talent in the world, can make every throw, got all, you know, got the size and arm talent. You know, so he's going to be fine there. It's just, you know, what's going to go up here between the ears and how fast he can pick up the game. And once
now, what do you think about that? What do you think about the new rule where they can hear the offensive coordinator up until that 15 seconds?
I think that's great. You know, I think that's great. That's funny that, you know, me and Vernon and Tyrone, we coached a little semi-pro team out here. We had that shit going back about 9 years ago. They didn't know we had it. We were using it. You know, we were calling the plays, and they, you know, we didn't have no shut off on on our mics. So Vernon is like, all right, throw that shit deep, throw it deep. He's open. You know? Yeah, but you can't, you know, obviously, you know, I think it'll help him out, you know, as long as if he can match what he's seeing, you know, if his brain can kind of pick that up, you can tell him, you know, the read looks this way, and right before the snap of the ball, okay, this is going to be your hot, or, you know, this coverage should roll that way. This should be your guy. You know, he should be able to play a lot faster with that information right before the snap.
Now, do you think with something like that, does that kind of not put a stop to, but maybe lessen a lot of these hurry up offenses? Because you're going to need your quarterback to get set. You're going to need to know what he's looking at as far as coverage, and they can communicate that. Now, at the same time, do you see defensive coordinators making their switch to where they'll switch coverage or defensive looks after that 15-second mark?
Well, I think you see it now. I mean, just when the spreads start coming in, it's just kind of like you'll have it. They won't even huddle up, so they'll use that time to be out there really trying to assess the defense. You know, with cards and, you know, different formations and motions and stuff like that. You're still going to have that involved with the game, you know. But just what the play is called, you know, it should dictate what defense they should be in. You know, just like if we're studying film and, you know, you're looking at them and go, okay, well, if they come out in this set, this is the defense that we're going to be in. We might show something different, but we're going to check to this. You know, it's that last minute cat and mouse kind of game. But I think if you get out there fast enough, and sometimes you catch them off guard and play a little faster, you know, then you'll still have more time to really go through those reads. And I think that information in the ears, if everybody's on the same page, can help.
Yeah, that's something they get on defense too now, Kenny. The captain, middle linebacker, gets the same thing now. So
it's just like you see it in the NFL, you know. I mean, but you still see that, you know, you take the fucking Philadelphia Eagles. It didn't matter what Kansas City was doing. They was in that ass. So it didn't matter. Don't give a damn, you know, what call was coming in. It was like, yo, this front four, get there, you know, and that's dominate.
Yeah. So, it's like Ernie said.
And you're talking about the best quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah.
You know, struggling. And guess what? Fundamentals, pass rush, got to him.
It's like Ernie said with the speed of the game. So, I mean, with it being in the ear, I don't see it really making a difference. You should be able to play faster, but it's no different with confusion to where when I noticed Steve, I thought was one of the worst coaching deals I ever saw was Oklahoma against Florida in the national championship game. I think that's when they started that. Hold up, let's look what the coaches are doing instead of attacking. Mm-hmm. I thought that was the worst. I think, as Ernie said, what they're doing now, looking over, seeing the cards, seeing them change. I think that's horrible, and I think it slows them down. I'd rather you just go in there, you have your set of plays. These are your ones you switch to it based on how they're playing. You look and let them get, and you audible to this and go. You shouldn't be looking over there for everything and then looking back. So if it's in their ear and they can talk to them and they can get the play off quicker and faster, I'm with it. So, you know.
Are we starting into a day and age where you get the best Madden play caller as your offensive coordinator at that point? I mean, that's kind of what you're looking at. Look, I mean, honestly, the new college football game, when I play it, look, if I see guys pressing my receivers, I'm audibling to a pass and I'm sending that guy on a fly. Because 9 times out of 10, my receiver's beating that bump coverage and he's gone.
Out of there.
I'm just saying, you know.
I got
That's what it feels
Bryan,
like.
It's real simple. The game is never going to change. It's real simple.
Right.
You know, and it's just, you know, at the end of the day, you know, I'm going to call one play. You got to be able to stop it.
Yep.
You know, I can beat you with one play. You know, if you can't stop it, you can't stop it. You know, when we execute and we're going to get the look that we're going to get, you ain't going to be able to stop it. You know, all that other smoke screen shit, that shit looks nice on film and everybody flying around and you got all these jump sets and, you know, you're switching over here and, you know, that's great. You know, it just gets to it when you got to, and let me tell you something, that's what happened to us. You know, we used to be in a little, you know, a 50 front. You know, we had a 5-2. You know, we go down to Miami.
Right.
We go down to Miami. That shit wasn't working. You know, they start doing this. You know, playing sideline to sideline. You know, we was like, whoa. You know, we got 245-pound fucking linebackers. They ain't covering nobody. You know, I mean, they trying to get up in the A gaps. I was like, all they doing is trying to fill. You know, ain't no nose guard no more. You know, so when we had to switch up our defense and go to our 4-3 look, you know, and put them athletes out there, put that speed out there, or at least try to match that speed. That's when we became relevant. You know, I mean, going through the Big 8 and you got, you know, you're playing against the Kansases and you're playing against the K-States and even K-State was ahead of their time with Bill Snyder. Snyder had that shit going. You got to remember, Snyder had that shit going with Iowa. That stand-up tight end shit. Snyder brought that shit to Iowa when he went to K-State. So, I mean, they've always had a spread set at K-State. You know, and then Colorado didn't really pass that much, but they had them boys on the outside too. But, you know, but for the most part, when you went down to Miami, January 1st, all them track shoes on, bro. You know, I don't need them 3 or 4 inch cleats. Give me them little wet weather joints. You know, give me them wet weather boys out there. Me and Will Hyde. Shit. I'm about to go stretch again on the sideline. These motherfuckers is fast. I'm like, instead of sitting down, well, we was out there stretching and shit. He was like, boy, you gotta stay loose. Get them hammies right. It's a track meet out here. I'll tell you.
Hey, what Will Hyde told me, he said, Coach Osborne said, Kenny, what do you think we need to do he said after this last game to be able to get further and win in championship? Will Hyde said, Tony, you need some of them.
Yeah. I tell you, after the kickoff, we ran our first series on offense. Man, Cheatham came down the hole and shit. Rolled the fullback. Lance got hit in the backfield, right? Cheatham got to the edge. He got hit twice. When he pitched the ball, it was 2 motherfuckers on the pitch. I was like, wow. I was like, yo, they playing with 11, right? Yo, when that smoke cleared in Miami, bro, it was a damn basketball team over there. I'm just like, oh, no. I said, Coach, we got to open up that playbook. We ain't doing all this shit on the outside. We got to go this way. Tackle to tackle. Stay inside. Run them damn traps. Run them dudes up the field. Let's pound them. He told me, Ernie, go take a seat, son. Go take a seat over there on the defensive side. I was like, all right, Coach. Let's open up that playbook, though. He must have looked at me like, here's me saying this is Coach Osborne as a sophomore. He must have looked at me like, I was damn crazy as hell. I was like, what's wrong with this? But that's how we won. That's how we won. That's how we beat them. You know what I'm saying? We start playing that inside game on them and start loading up. We outmanned them. We had size, so we played to our strengths because they were damn sure was playing to theirs.
Shit.
Hey, another key to winning. Another key to winning, though, just like he said, is depth. And that's one thing I think we're going to be lucky with this year, for the simple fact that, you know, I know we lost Hutmacher, we lost Robinson. I know we got guys to replace them. And I'm sorry, I'm a bad fan off the top of my head. Can't think of I know Van Poppel's one of them, but I do know we've got guys like Malcolm Simpson from Texas coming in this season. We got Tyson Terry from Omaha North coming in this season. Nice. Both high-star recruits. So they're basically reloading on defensive line. But in my opinion, this is going to be not the story here lately, but we're going to have some pretty good depth this year. And Kenny, we're going to have some depth at wide receiver this year, my man. So I'm just the one guy I'm looking for to really shine. And I don't know how much you got to see this last season, Ernie, but it was true freshman Ja'Cory Barney Jr. out of Florida.
Yeah.
My God, that young man, he's got it.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, at wide receiver, Kenny, I think you're going to be happy this year.
You need to put a little size on him. You need to put a little size on him.
He does. He's like 160 pounds soaking wet, I think.
Yeah.
And what did he play at last year?
About 160.
Yeah, like maybe 165, 170. I don't know. He's tiny. There ain't much meat on them bones, but he can definitely take a hit.
That's all right.
He can get jiggy. He can get jiggy out there, but if he take a good hit, he's done. Done skip.
And then, of course, we got that the transfer. I believe his last name's Key out of I think it was Kentucky or Memphis. It was one of the two. Mm-hmm. We basically traded players with him because I think wherever he came from is where Dante Dowdell transferred to. Oh, okay. So we just kind of give and take there. But like I said, a depth, we haven't had the benefit of it here in recent history. But this is going to be one of those years. I think we're going to see, maybe it's going to be one of those things where injuries doesn't really take a toll on us and we don't need to use that depth, but it's there if we need it. So God forbid, something happens to a key player. And look, I hate to say it that way because they all are key players, but God forbid somebody, like Emmett or Raiola would go down. We've got guys that can now step in, fill that role, and take the reins of the team.
And then with the amount of scholarship players, they should be getting more quality reps.
That's right.
Damn right.
And that's what you want anyway. You want to have that. I mean, just injuries is part of the game. We know that. But it's just, when these guys compete and when it's their time, it's their time. I mean,
depth was huge when you played,
Ernie. Hell yeah.
The style of not just offense but defense that you guys played, you had to rotate players to stay fresh.
Oh, yeah. I mean, shit. We had 3 Sam linebackers: myself, Lorenzo, Dumas.
Oh, Brinkley.
Yeah. And for us, it was really about this. It wasn't really about who was going to start. It was really about let's make our position better. We'll compete, but let's make the Sam linebacker position better. So there's no drop off. Whoever's on the field, there's no drop off. So let's compete that way about it, and that's what we did. And that's what So when one of us was in, one of us was out. They like to have Zoe in a little bit more. Obviously, in passing situations, his first, it was almost like first or second down. It was a running situation that I was in. So they maximized that position with the skill set that they had. And I think, if you can do that, but that's the genius of McBride. That was the genius of Coach Steele, Darlington, all the coaches that we had, our defensive coaches. They just collectively was like, okay, we're going to get our best 11 out there, but we're going to get our best 11 out there all the time.
Yeah.
With depth. So that's really what we.
That was one thing I can always remember growing up. I mean, it was never rebuild. It was always reload.
Hell no.
The pipeline was always the pipeline. Didn't matter if you lost 4 out of your 5 starters. You got 2 or 3 guys that have been salivating at the mouth, just waiting to get in there. So, and I think that's what we're going to see this year. So, I mean, maybe we get lucky and the injury bug doesn't bite us really all that hard. It has happened for teams in the past. It's rare in this day and age, but I mean, it's kind of sad to think, Ernie, that the days when you and Kenny played, how much more violent this game was, the way it should be, the way we all loved it, but you see more injuries now than you did back then.
I'm going to tell you, what's the penalty for targeting?
15 yards and an ejection for half of the game.
I would have had a half a season of that shit. I'm telling you right now. Get up. You'd have been like, where's Beler at? Oh, he got to sit out another half. I'm telling you right now.
Oh, shit.
I would not be able to play. And trust me, I was a good form tackler. I can tackle. But I'm telling you right now, if I got a shot, I'm taking it. And it's right to the head. It's a straight head shot. We used to do this as a headbangers. Okay, me and T. Wright, Jay Reese, we was, hey, go get him. I got me a face mask shot. Crown of the helmet is going right to it, bro. Right to it.
That's what I mean.
You know, but that's the way we used to hit. That's, I think I told some dudes, I'm like, you got all the muscles, but you ain't got no muscles in your face. That's why I'm gonna hit you at. I don't care about all of this. You ain't got nothing up here.
Yeah.
Especially if that chin is up. It's a wrap.
Brick wall on the chest, but a glass on the chin.
No doubt. Yeah,
that's hilarious.
Get him. But that's I would have to, but I know I definitely got fined. Well,
I agree with you, Ernie. The targeting rule is horse shit.
Yeah,
it's inconsistent.
Mm-hmm.
It's completely wrong, in my opinion. Like, look, I get if you get somebody literally trying to spear a guy, like diving head first like a torpedo or something.
No, none of that. Yeah, I mean that's we didn't even do that. I'm talking about if I'm meeting you in a hole, I'm coming up in a hole, and we face mask to face mask.
Yes.
I'm talking about that kind of shot. I'm not talking about somebody that's defenseless, that's looking away. What is it? 3 steps right now. Like 1, 2, or 2 steps. You tipping the ball, your ass is getting hit. If that shit's a little high, it's a little low.
You might as well catch it.
You gotta get that head on the swivel because a shot's coming.
Yeah.
Now if you're a receiver, you ain't really got to worry about it. Because you can just drop the ball, you ain't gonna get hit.
I used to always tell them when we'd be in the film room, some of them dudes would be like, "Oh, it was a little too high," and I would be like, "Did your hand catch it? Did your hand touch it? Yeah, catch it." Because if they blow your ass up, they don't care if it just the tip of your hand. You might as well get something out of it when you get blown up. Catch the damn ball. Make an effort to catch it. Don't half-ass it.
That's correct.
Catch it and get ready for the smoke.
Yep.
But I say, because I was once defense. So I used to think my favorite player was Ronnie Lott and Lawrence Taylor. I used to think I was Lawrence Taylor. I was trying to tear everybody's face off.
Right. That's right.
So my coach said, "Kenny, son, you out here blowing these boys up, but you ain't wrapping up. You just trying to tear their head off." And I said, "You know what, coach? My forearms and all this is hurt from blowing these dudes up. And I don't get as many women with my name not in the paper like I do on offense. I'm gonna stick to offense. I'm Dunsky. Done."
I hear you, bro.
Kenny, if you wanted your name in the paper for stats on offense, you came to the wrong offensive school, man.
Very true.
He went out there. Hey, let me tell you something. He went out there and saw them X's and Y's in 3-point stance. He'd have been like, "Oh, hell no. What's this?"
Oh, man. Thank God they changed that before I got there. But like, what the hell is this? Tecmo Bowl?
3-point stance.
Yeah,
I'm like, yo, you
Tecmo Bowl.
You 5-7 yards off the ball. You got to play the cut block from there. I'm just telling you, in a 3-point stance, I ain't never seen nothing like that.
Like, what is
I don't think I see anybody in a 3-point stance anymore except linemen.
Yeah.
They're not even in it anymore.
That's a 2-point stance, yeah.
They standing there with a hand on the hip.
Yeah, the center's the only poor son of a bitch that's got to do it because he's got to grab the damn ball.
Yeah.
We were doing it.
Oh, shit. Oh. All right. We've reached a little over an hour.
All right.
God, son of a bitch.
Yeah.
Hey, I just need EB to go off real quick and tell me, what do you think about the current state in Nebraska football and where it's been? I need the OG to let me know how he felt for the last couple of years.
All right, bro.
I think people need to hear.
I'm gonna keep it 100 with you. I'm gonna keep it 100 with you. Some years I ain't even watch. Couldn't do it, man.
Thank you.
Like I was showing you, I show you a picture of my license plate, bro, and I'm proud to have it. I mean, it's B shirt 23, and that's what I've been rocking ever since I've been out here. And I'm telling you, man, it hurts, bro. It really hurts. It really hurts. I'm gonna tell you, it fucking hurts. It hurts. Because I don't, because I know how we played, and I know what the black shirt meant to me. I know you guys kind of talked about it before, Kenny, when you was talking to VP. But that South Stadium walk, man, before that first practice, when you look in that box and you see them fucking sprinkles of black shirts in there, bro, that's it. You made it. And I'm telling you, it's one of them things I look back and I think about, about being a part of this real fraternity. You guys, Kenny, you're in a fraternity, a real fraternity, but this is a football fraternity. To have this, to be honored. I mean, honored to wear one of these damn shirts at practice and to represent that and represent everybody else that rock one, to play with that kind of attitude. It was just like, yo, we were different.
Yeah.
We were different with them boys on. I'm telling you, it was just like, yo, what that shit really meant. And when I see these cats, they was talking about giving his black shirts, they're taking them away. We're not going to do this shit. I'm like, who the fuck are these coaches? Who are these dudes? You know what I'm saying? Like, who are these guys? He's not even defense coaches from Nebraska. And they talking about, the tradition is the tradition. And, they haven't earned the black shirts. I'm just like, what? So it started from the top down there, man, after we left. So, I mean, the coaching staffs that was there, they didn't really want to pass that on or the tradition on and stuff like that. But when I watch Nebraska's defense, man, even now, these kids got to know, listen, no, it starts with us and it ends with us. They ain't gonna win shit if that defense can't stop nobody.
Yep.
Them black shirts got to be able to do their motherfucking job. They got to be able to stop people. And I'm telling you, that's it. When it gets to fucking fourth down, that's it. We 3-and-out. We 3-and-out. That's the goal. I mean, we had stupid shit like sudden change. The fucking sudden change for us was 0. They ain't getting shit. Maybe a field goal, depending on where they were at in the field. So that's the kind of shit we had. We were serious about that. But I seen that when I first got there. I seen Broderick Thomas. I seen Mills, Leroy Etienne. They wore their black shirts. Leroy was one of the coolest motherfuckers I ever seen. He wore a black shirt with some red tights on. I was like, what? Who's this dude? Leroy Etienne, the Louisiana legend, bro. That's what I'm talking about. So it's a history. It's a history that's passed down, even from like Charles Fryers to Hahn, all them guys, Bruce, all those dudes, man, that used to play back in there. Mike Anderson, Petco, Perella, Rainmakers.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Fucking John used to be a fucking tight end when we got to Nebraska. John Perella was a tight end.
What?
Yeah. They
That's
told him, he couldn't catch. And they were like, nah. But John was a tight end. McBride was like, nah, bro, you're going to put your hand in the ground. You ain't blocking no boy. Yeah.
Good choice.
Yeah, man. And then, so it was just one of those things that we passed on. But, for these young cats, these young guys that's playing the game right now, it's not so much about they need to, check the history and stuff like that, but it's just about, it's real pride. It's real pride from the guys that played with me, the guys that played before me, and the guys that played after me, what we was able to do, and it's just one of those things that, we can go somewhere and I see people bumping it all the time. I see somebody with a Nebraska hat on and walking to the job or in the street. I'll give them a sign and they're like, oh shit, and it's just crazy, that's recognizable. It's just one of those things, man. But, I hope these guys, really pay attention to the stuff that we talk about, because obviously this is passion. We still got passion for this shit. And Kenny, you're right. I'm glad you even had me on and Will Height and VP and some of the other teammates. But I'm telling you, it's important. It's important for cats to know that, we bleed this shit and we still bleed it.
Yep.
This shit is real for us. I mean, if I can get my old ass out there right now, I'll smack the shit out of somebody on the field. I'm telling you right now, I got one play left in me. And I'm telling you right now, I'm gonna use that shit. One of these days, somebody gonna challenge me. I'm gonna get out there. I'm gonna backpedal. I'm gonna come up and light somebody's ass up. I swear I still feel because I had that shirt. That's what's up, yo.
Yeah, and that's why I said that, because EB, I like to let y'all cook and go off on that, because I think when they hear from me being an offensive player, and I think a lot of times they take it when I would say stuff like, oh, he just no. I'm like, no, even me as an offensive player knows what that means to the defensive player. And so when people have heard me say, dude, I've seen people cry getting that shirt.
Yeah.
You need to understand that wasn't like, oh, I just got my black shirt. That was cool. I saw people break down and sitting there crying like babies because they got this shirt.
I got my shit, boy. I was crying like a motherfucker. I'm telling you. Went there and got my special spat job by Hammer and shit. I was like, get my shit right today. I'm coming out there. I got the fit on today. Fuck them yellow shirts. I ain't wearing that shit. With no numbers on there. I'm like, how the fuck you gonna wear a shirt with no number? I'm like, nah. Give me that 2-3. I'm all in. And I ain't never take that motherfucker off. I'm telling you.
Yeah, man. So that's why I like to let y'all express it, man, because I think people hear and they get it. Like I said, I go back to Zoe and he said that was gone, and like VP said, marketing, but they need to understand from the old school players what that means and how hard y'all had to work to get that, to earn that shirt, to keep that shirt, because that yellow shirt will get put back on you in a minute.
To keep it.
Your ass to be in that yellow shirt sitting over there on one knee.
But I seen somebody get their shit pulled. I ain't gonna mention no name.
Yeah,
I bet they cried harder than when they got it.
Huh?
Yeah.
I bet they cried harder than when they got it.
Hell yeah, man. It's real. You know, and that's what I'm saying. I don't know if they have that kind of tradition anymore. You know, and it was just obviously it's the first practice. You know, first practice of the fall. You know, I don't know if they do that like that anymore. But you know, they don't tell you shit. You know, you just gotta check your locker. You don't even ask. You know, am I a black shirt? Am I gonna make it this year? Don't, you know, hell no.
Yep.
No.
I will say that's how they still do it. They surprise them. You know, when they come in from practice on a certain day, they have them hanging in their locker when they get in there.
There you go.
For the guys that are going to get one. Now, the one thing I will say about what you were talking about, knowing the tradition of it, about the black shirts and everything, Ernie, you know, finally with this staff allowing, you know, former players and coaches to come back and visit, talk with everybody.
Yeah.
A couple former staffs weren't allowing that.
Yep.
Now it's one of those things where when you guys are here, preach that tradition of the black shirts to these young guys that are either coming in or that are already there, because we had a big time recruit that is coming here from that flipped from Alabama, Dawson Merritt out of Kansas City. He had no clue of the tradition of the black shirts and even a clue that they were called the black shirts.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's atrocious. That should never happen.
It's important. Yeah.
So yeah, I just hope when you guys are back, just please preach to them how much it means,
Absolutely.
what the culture is, the tradition. They've got to know this. It blew me away when I asked him what he knew about the black shirts and about the tradition of Nebraska, and he was like, I'd never even heard of it until I got there.
Damn.
Me and Kenny looked at each other when he said that, and we're like, "Holy shit!"
But that's on us. That's on us.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, that's not good at all.
No, everybody should know about it. You know, even recruits that we're interested in and stuff like that. But again, we haven't done shit on the field to let everybody know about that.
Bingo.
You know what I mean? So that's what it was about. When it was popular with us, we were smacking the shit out of people. You know, and that's what they got to do. They got to get back to being tough. They got to get. I'm not saying
you were feared,
but I'm saying they got to get back to saying, "Yo, who Nebraska's defense? You know, this is Nebraska's defense. Yeah, the offense is this. We got this. We got that. But this defense is knocking people down.
The defense is always, and I'm offense. Once again, people, the defense has always been the personality of the team, of Nebraska's football team.
That's it. All the time.
Because one, as you know, EB, Bryan, you know, but me and EB know from being in there with him all the time, the offense had to take on the personality of Coach Osborne. We couldn't be as expressive. We couldn't be as outgoing. We couldn't be as free. The defense you got to see personalities. You got to see them be themselves. You got to see them celebrate at something. You got to see them do all of these things.
Charlie Mack didn't give a damn about that.
Yeah, so
he's sitting over there with a wad of chew in his mouth, and Coach Osborne was like, "Don't spit on the field." He was like, "Hey, I got to get my boys right." You know what I'm saying? Charlie Mack wasn't hearing that shit. He was just like, "Go knock this shit out of people."
Yeah.
I'll take the blame for it. Don't worry about it. You do what the fuck you need to do. Don't worry about that. Everybody else, I'm gonna take care of you. Just go do your job.
Man,
I don't give a
we
damn
got to get Coach
McBride. I don't give a damn how hard you hit somebody. Just hit him. Light him up.
We got to get Coach McBride on here, dude.
Oh yeah.
Somehow.
You gotta get everybody on with Coach McBride. First of all, you won't hear shit. you won't hear a thing because I'm telling you, he is loved. You know,
I'll tell you, if we could somehow land Coach McBride on here, Ernie, I'm telling you this right now, then we're gonna have you back on, we're gonna have Vernon back on, and we're gonna have Will Hack back on. We're gonna have a mega show, is what we're gonna do. It's gonna be like a 2-3 hour long episode. I don't give a shit. I'm gonna let you guys just talk.
Coach McBride is one of them boys. Hey, I form tackle Coach McBride and in the brass rail.
What? Okay, before we're done here, I gotta hear this.
You know, it was a bowl week. We having our last little party and shit, so we out there, we getting ready to leave and stuff like that. And he came in the bar, he was out with his boys, and he was like, "Hey, what are you guys doing?" And I just kind of ran the floor was slippery. It was a lot of beer and shit on the floor. So I'm running up to him. I can't break down. I'm just boom. Right in the brass rail. Held him down, though. I ain't drop him all the way. But he's like, "Ernie, what the fuck are you doing?" I was like, "Coach, I'm glad you're here. That's all." But yeah, but that's the kind of guy he was. You know, he didn't care about other shit, man. You know, he let us be, let us be the players we was going to be. Let us be the kids that we was going to be. He knew we was going to go out, and let loose before we went on to Miami. And he was out there with us, and that's the kind of guy he was. And that's why we played the way we played for him.
And that's about how Vernon talked about him as well. Vernon holds him in high regard.
Oh, hell yeah. That dude.
I mean, I think anybody that's ever been coached by the man or has even met him for 5 minutes holds him in such high regard.
Yeah. And not a loud guy, soft voice, just yeah. But he just when he get at you, he get at you. He'll let you know. He'll sit there on the sideline and curse your ass out, and we're in a heartbeat. But then at the end of it, get your ass out there and let's go, make it happen. That's my guy.
Did him ever, cussing you guys out? Obviously, not berating you or trying to humiliate you, but did the cussing ever rub Coach Osborne the wrong way at all?
Well, that's what I'm saying. He would move down the side of the field a little bit, Charlie, if you ever watched the practice, Coach Osborne and Charlie McBride was never on the same side. Coach Osborne would be over there, especially if we're up on the main field and stuff like that. McBride was always over in the corner or on the sidelines and shit, because that's where he was at. So they never interacted during practice that way.
That's good.
And again, he had kind of a soft voice, so if he's yelling at you, it's just really just you and him.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's worse. That almost feels like, I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed.
Disappointed. Yeah. Yeah. That's tough. Yeah, that's exactly what it was. I'm not mad at you. I'm just disappointed in you. And that thing would just stay with you until you made it right.
Well, Ernie, that's going to be a promise, man. We get Coach McBride on here. You, Powell, Will Hite, you're all coming back on.
All in.
And I don't care if it needs to be a 2-part episode split up. I don't give a shit. I will let you guys talk for 3-4 hours if you want. I'll go take a nap, for God's sake. Let this thing record. You guys could just talk, dude.
Bryan, let that shit rip. Let's go. Make it happen.
We're gonna have to. I've tried hitting up Charlie on Facebook. I think we're friends on there. We don't personally know each other, but I'll see if I can shoot him a message.
Tell him his boys want to have him on your podcast.
That's what I'm trying to do. Yep, when I had Vernon on, that was one thing I tried to tag him in the clip because he was talking about Coach McBride. So yeah, but I never heard anything from Coach McBride. Damn it, son of a bitch! He's just eluding me right now. That guy's sneaky. He's slick.
Keep trying.
You can guarantee, Ernie, I'm nothing if not persistent, man. Kenny will tell you that. All right, guys, we'll go ahead and start shutting her down now. We'll go ahead and let you know the things you always need to know toward the end, as we tell you toward the beginning. If you're checking us out on YouTube, make sure to like, subscribe, hit the bell notification icon. It's going to help us out a lot. Leave a comment, leave a like. It really helps us out. I'm telling you. I usually comment back right away once I see them as well. Then, of course, the merch, everybody. Take your butts on over there. Oh, there we go. There we go. Shop.hurrdatsports.com. All right. You got the shirts, dad, trucker hats, the beanies, stainless steel tumblers, of course, the 15 and 20 ounce coffee mugs. Again, not the only colors that the clothing and stuff comes in. So don't worry about that. You got other colors to choose from. Tag us in the photo or send us a photo. We'll make you your own enlisted graphic as we do for our guests. Oh, my goodness. Ernie, are you on social media anywhere?
Nah, I'm just, you know what? I don't really do social media, man. I'm just, I'm just old school with it, Nah, I don't,
That's fine.
just chill, bro. Yeah,
You know how much easier that makes it for me?
Look, I got a landline at the crib, so that's how old I am on my shit. So you can call me on a landline.
Yes.
My cell phone.
Oh, but hey, don't feel bad. My dad still rocks a flip phone for a cell phone, man.
Some of the best Mackin came on the landline ever.
See?
With the long cord.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, you gotta get the
reaching
long cord
down a whole hallway.
Boy, wrap that shit down the stairs, all into the bathroom, everywhere with it.
Hey, the swirly one was stretched out. You had stretched it so long it was loose. Ooh, like some loose meat.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
Tighten up like a braid.
Hell yeah. Pure Mackin, baby. Pure Mackin.
And I forget what they were called, but if you had one of the spin dial phones, man, if you had one of those.
Rotary.
There we go, rotary phone. If you screwed that number up on the last number, you're like, shit.
Hey, I was such a savage. I didn't even need to touch the metal part. And I was on them dang so tough. I know that's it. That's the 2. That's the 3. My finger didn't need to touch that. I'm on it. I was on that type of time, man. Demon time. I was on it.
Yeah, man. This was great, fellas.
Ernie, this has been a blast, man. I can't thank you enough for joining us, dude.
Oh, no problem.
God, we're gonna, like I said, we somehow get Coach McBride on here. You're back. You're for sure back. All right, so everybody,
anytime you need me, I'm back, man. Anytime.
Hey, EB, any other OGs you want to get on here to talk their talk and speak their piece? You let them. You get at me. We will put them on here.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
All are welcome.
This is for y'all, bro. This is for y'all.
I appreciate it. Yeah. Nice little platform for us, man. Appreciate it.
As I said, Ernie, I'm a lifelong fan. My dad named me after a Husker player when I was born. So this is in my blood. This is what I know. This is what I'm royally intelligent about. And I'm not intelligent about a lot. A lot of people will tell you that.
I got you, brother.
All right. So everybody, you know where to find the show. We've told you before. You see it right there at Husker Army Pod on Twitter and Instagram. I'm never going to call it X. You know where to find Kenny as well. You see it right there. Husker Noop 1911. So I guess we'll go ahead and shut her down for now. We will see you next week. We'll have Willie Miller on with us. That's going to be a hell of an episode as well. I mean, look, having former Huskers on for me, it's always a hell of a show. I don't care. I really don't. We could have somebody that never stepped foot on that field for us, but as long as they were in practice every day, wore that helmet proudly, and calls this home, you're welcome. Yep. So, all right, everybody, we'll shut her down now. You know where to find the show. Kenny, you've seen us talking to Ernie for the last hour or so now, and it's been a blast. So the last thing to do, Husker Nation, Husker Army, you know what to do. At ease, you are all dismissed.
A Hurrdat Sports Network production.